Hey, Danny Matei here with PT Biz, and I just made a massive investment, and I want to share all the details with you. So, about 3 years ago, my wife and I sold Athletes Potential, which is the clinic that we started together when we moved to Atlanta after I got out of the Army. It was a very huge part of our life. It was a big part of our kids' lives. It's how we identified ourselves in many ways as business owners, small business owners of this clinic. And along the way, we learned a lot about running a business, in many cases, the hard way. And at a certain point, we got pretty good at running businesses, and we started having people reach out to us about how they could do similar things. Our goals for that clinic started to change. It started to be something that we viewed as a convenient business that we could autopilot and really test things that then we could share with the clients we were working with in PT Biz. And it was great because we were able to tactically test many things and share many things in a very fast pace with the clients that we were working with. But at the end of the day, that's not really the vision that we had for that clinic. It's not really the vision we had for our staff. And we wanted to create an opportunity for our staff to really be able to be a part of a clinic that was solely focused on that and growing, so they could have better opportunities and so that clinic could, in the end, really help a lot more people. So 3 years ago, we sold our clinic to our clinic director at the time, Jake Swart, who was a fantastic clinician, but really we felt was the right person to carry on the core values of that business and ambitious enough to really go for it and grow that business. And it's been really cool to, from a distance, really see what's been going on. And I see Jake on a regular basis. I usually see him a couple times a month, and it's always just cool to catch up with what's going on in the clinic and to visit as a patient, which we have done frequently since we sold the business. But over the last, I would say, 6 to 9 months in particular, I felt very disconnected from actually running these businesses. I work with business owners every day, really diving into what they're doing in their businesses and developing systems and talking about finance and hiring and all the things that go into running clinics. And I do love being able to help these clinic owners, but there's an in-person element of work that I have very much missed. There's a granular part of being a part of these businesses that I very much missed. And in the last 2 months, we have been able to come to terms with the current owner of Athletes Potential with a reinvestment in the business to once again be a part of that business in a different role than what we were doing before and actually owning it outright and running it. And I'm very excited about this. So, my wife and I are going to be partners with Jake in Athletes Potential once more and really function in more of a strategic growth advisor role, but also in the ability to really get in there with the team and get in there with doing things like expanding into standalone spaces and doing brand redesigns and compensation packages and hiring and, really just scaling the business with all of the things that we have learned over the last few years, in particular, the last 3 years, where we've been solely focused on PT Biz. And at the time, I very much believe that selling our clinic was the right move. And it probably wouldn't make sense for me to get back involved in the business if I didn't really personally feel very tied to the mission and the people, which I do. And being in person is a special thing that I think we take for granted when we're running these businesses. But I can tell you, this has been my world for a few years. This is my office. This is where I spend so much time. And, I'm on Zoom calls. I'm answering, client questions. I'm, doing lots of work for that business that involves me creating content like this, or, being tied to a computer in some way. But the more of that I do, the more I realize I need some balance as well with being face-to-face and being a part of a brick and mortar business again, especially one that is so unique as Athletes Potential. It's something I'm very, very much looking forward to. And it's a role that I'm very much, I feel like I'm teed up for to be a part of now that I wasn't 3 years ago. I mean, the amount of reps I have with the businesses over the last 3 years in particular, just solely focusing on this, the amount of connections that I've been able to make, the amount of people I've been able to have conversations with and different elements of business that I knew nothing about when we sold is going to be incredibly helpful for the role that I'm going to fill within that company. So this is something that I wanted to share because I think there's a misconception in some ways that just because you sell a business, it means that they're not good businesses to own. And that wasn't the case for us. In fact, we had a very, very hard time selling Athletes Potential at all. In fact, when we told our kids, they literally started crying. Like it was like we had put a family pet down or something. Like it was sad. We were sad for months. Our whole family was. And it's because it's a very personal thing. It's something that, when you start a business together, a family business, and you put so much work into that, and you get a chance to work with people that are, really making changes, physical changes, mental changes. They're improving their lives. It's a very special place. It's a very positive place, and it's a place that we enjoy going. And I don't even know if you, as a business owner with these types of clinics, you may not have the perspective of that I do, but I can tell you that you should be very grateful for that opportunity. You should be very grateful to be able to work in a space, in a business where people are improving, where positive things are happening, where people are trying to get better all the time. That's a unique place. Most people do not work in settings like that, and you can build that culture however you want, and that's a pretty cool thing. So, for me, I really missed getting my hands dirty in these businesses, being a part of these businesses. And the other thing too is, I've had people question whether, if that was the right move, or question whether, we are out of touch with clinics because we don't own them anymore, which is I think a fair thing to say, but also inaccurate. I mean, the amount of time that I spend looking at these businesses is just, it's all I do. This is it. So I don't know if I would say that, we don't have a strong idea of how these businesses run just because we're not running Monday morning meetings, It's more about the scale side of it that I'm interested in, really helping with the things that I've learned as far as space design, negotiations, compensation structure plans, different business models that incorporate recurring revenue, improvements in acquisition and sales packaging on the front end, as well as really having a clear idea as to what to track, as well as what the numbers look like to truly scale a business like this. Like I've been a part of businesses at this point now that I've owned that are significantly larger than Athletes Potential is. And I really want to help it get to that point with what it is that I've learned personally. And that doesn't necessarily mean I'm not seeing patients, right? That's not happening. I'm not going to go in and run meetings. That's not my role. And that's not what I'm trying to do. But to really help with Jake, point that business and drive that business into the right direction for where we have this shared vision is really, really exciting and something that I'm excited to be able to do again. And I think, why do you care, right? Well, I'll tell you the way that I look at this. So number one, me being directly involved again, it's kind of how all this started to begin with. Like the Peachy Entrepreneur podcast, if you go back and you listen, I mean, half of those episodes, well, I mean, not half, many of those episodes, I'm doing as I'm driving to my clinic. The audio is terrible. And I think you can actually hear those. Like it's in the first 100 or so, maybe 200. A lot of those are me driving to my clinic with mud tires on my truck. So it's loud. And, but that's the only time I had to share some of the stuff. But it was also top of mind. It was like I was in it so much, right? And, being able to share that in detail as things were happening was really, it was cool. And I think it was helpful for people that were going through similar things, or maybe I was just a step ahead of where they're at. This puts me in a unique position to do something very similar and really share what we're seeing, but on a much bigger scale, because the goal for this clinic is not just to, keep it where it's at. Like it's well past a 7-figure clinic right now. The goal is to grow it much bigger than that. The goal is to grow the largest cash-based clinic group in the entire country. The goal is multiple 8 and even 9 figures in revenue in these clinics. And maybe we don't get there because it's quite ambitious, but I sure as hell am looking forward to trying. And I'm sure as hell is looking forward to sharing what we're finding with our community at PT Biz and with people that listen to the stuff that we put out and the content that we have. This is a exciting thing for me to think about. What can we build? And, when people ask like, are these truly good businesses? We've just put our money where our mouth is, where our mouth is, with a significant monetary investment and time investment into this business. I think the future of these businesses it's massive. We see what's happening right now. The other thing is I still see so many people that are leaving the profession, that are even have clinics that they try to start and fail because they don't understand how to run a business. Or to be honest, they have no business being an entrepreneur. They're not wired correctly for it. They don't know what the pain feels like. They're not willing to take that long enough. They're not willing to work on themselves personally. And that's okay because a friend once told me the only reason to be an entrepreneur is if you can't be employed by somebody else, because it is a crazy decision. It's a crazy life decision, career decision, and it's a very difficult thing to do. And there's an incredibly high failure rate as well. So for us, we see a path where we're going to be able to create, ideally, a almost utopia of where these types of clinicians can work at a very high level with fantastic work-life balance and have opportunities that in some cases may be even better than starting and growing their own clinic, being a part of a bigger group. And that's a pretty exciting thing to do because I've now been a part of groups that are much bigger as far as consulting is concerned. And it's interesting to see how the sausage is made and better understand the whole process of how we put these things together. And I've met and had a chance to interact with people that are far more successful than I am over the last few years. And I really do look forward to the opportunity of testing some of these things that we've had a chance to learn and implement them in real time in this business model that I think is so special. And honestly, to get back to actually being a part of, the journey that people have, not just on the patient side, like that's amazing, but also it's the people, like that is the thing that I think you have to keep in mind as you grow your business. So the best and worst part of your business is going to be the people. And that's ironic in some ways. How can it be the best and the worst? I mean, other things are like that in life as well, but helping staff be able to get to a position where they, A, love being a clinician again, B, put themselves in a position where they can financially afford a house or pay their student loans off or start a family, see a path forward where they can grow within a business and be a part of this culture, this really unique culture that we can grow. Like the people are what matters. Like that's it. And sometimes you're forced to grow, so your people have opportunities that are bigger than where they're at. And that's actually what I didn't understand whenever we sold our clinic. And I said, okay, like it's better for us to go focus on this, just solely focus on that. And absolutely, it made a massive difference in that business. That PT Biz has grown, exponentially since we decided to solely focus on that. And at the same time, when I look at athletes' potential and the opportunities we have, I want to be able to provide the same opportunities, the same growth trajectory, the same, company culture that allows people to see that they have a path forward to a fantastic income and benefits and be a part of a culture and a mission that's bigger than them and really feel proud of where they work, but do so in a brick and mortar business again. And, be a part of that in person with people. Go to the events that we have, be a part of the Christmas dinner that we have, like all these things that are so special when it comes to being a part of a brick and mortar company. That is what I very much look forward to, more than anything else. I think the opportunity is massive, but more than anything, the people are what matter the most. And I think if you can keep that in mind in your company, because yes, sometimes they're going to call in sick or you have turnover, or somebody leaves and they start a clinic right down the road and they, somebody doesn't handle your feedback well or whatever. Like, okay, it's always challenging, no doubt about that. But keep in mind, those people are what matter the most. And the more that you put them first, the more that you can create opportunities for them, the more that they're going to pour back into your business and help you achieve the vision that you have. Because if your vision isn't big enough for them to see themselves in, they're going to leave and go do something else. That's it. You got to have a big vision and you got to put your people first. And I'm really excited really to step back in and do that again, in person with Jake, who I will go ahead and, give him a shout out. I think I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs in the clinical space in particular, tons. And I think Jake is one of the best that I've seen, just fantastic at what is a really challenging thing to do, which is, growing businesses, being risk tolerant enough, but yet prudent enough to understand, the pace to go at with businesses, to have a vision big enough that people want to get behind that, to be creative enough to solve problems and really put the work in, which can be very hard on you on the, health side and your personal side with your family. And I've been incredibly impressed. I wouldn't have taken this opportunity if it wasn't for that more than anything else, to get a chance to work with somebody that I really respect, to work towards something in a business that we both, very much care about, and with people that we really care about. And I'm very excited to also share the journey with everybody that listens to this and everybody that we work with, because if we can crack the code on that, there's going to be a lot of other people in the space that are going to be able to do the same thing. And that's what we hope to be able to do with Athletes Potential. So that's my big news. I sold my practice and then I bought back in a couple of years later. TLDR, there it is. But a lot more to come. I'm very excited to be a part of this again and to share much of what we're going to do with everybody on this as well. So thanks for listening. Catch you next time.